It's the most wonderful time of year. It's also the most expensive. Today, we're asking, is it possible to throw a swingin' Christmas bash on a budget? Absolutely there is. Today, we're showing you 6 awesome tips that are practical, resourceful, useful, and meaningful, so you can continue rocking around the Christmas tree, but save your pennies while you do it. Hello friends, I'm Erin, the founder and chief sommelier at the Wine Sisters. Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is the place where every single week we show you how to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro. And entertain like a pro is exactly what we're talking about today. After 15 years of running the Wine Sisters and hosting dozens and dozens and dozens of parties every year for our clients, not to mention what I throw for my own private bashes, we've picked up a few things along the way, and I'm going to share our very best penny pinching tips, and no one will know that you actually have done things on the cheap. Welcome back. If you are returning, I am so happy to see your faces again. And if you have stumbled upon here for the first time, I really hope you'll consider subscribing so you can be with us every single week. And by the way, friends, I've also created a link to our newsletter. We do have a newsletter that is delivered to you every single week for our very best tips on party planning, wine, cocktails, really great snacks, the whole bit. It'll go to your inbox every single Tuesday for free. I've got the link below for you to sign up. So without further ado, let's talk about the most important things here. And this is being a budget conscious host with the most. And I've got my 6 tips. So tip number 1, kind of the most obvious, but the most obvious that's employed in the most inappropriate ways. And we're talking potluck. Now, when we're talking about potluck, I typically don't like just saying, sure, bring something. That's how you end up with 14 Jell-O salads, and that's not helpful, and no one likes Jell-O salad. When you ask for potluck, when you extend a hand for help, what you want to do is you want to be very specific with your guests. You want to say to your guests, please bring 2 bottles of Cabernet. Please bring 3 pounds of ice. Please bring your killer guacamole. And by the way, if you want a recipe for killer guacamole, we did a video last summer that was awesome. It's the guacamole I use all the time. You can get the recipe with this video right here. So in short, potluck is a great way to do it, but you want to get very specific about what your needs are. And that brings us to point number 2, where I'm saying impressively inexpensive. Now, when we go ahead and we set out a spread of cheese boards and seafood and even those pre-made frozen snacks that you pick up in the freezer section of your grocery store, that adds up really, really quickly and can blow your budget out of the water before you've really even got time to add up the columns and do your old P&L, because nothing says party like a P&L. But what I would suggest to you is that you can have great food for very inexpensive. So think about things like deviled eggs. Everyone loves them. They're not very expensive to make. Think about things like different bean dips. I've also got a great video that we put out last Thanksgiving, and that's right here. Fantastic dip. Even think about making something like a big pot of soup and putting it in a little shot glass so that way people have a little something warming to munch on. These are all great options that are really inexpensive and will help keep your budget in check. Point number 3, consider the off hours. Do you guys remember about 1 or 2 years ago, we put out that really great video on how to host a cocktail hour? A little 5 set, a little apero, aperitivo, call it what you want. But what's great about this is that you have a start and an end time to cocktail hour, and you're not responsible for feeding people big meals. It's a great way to get together. It's casual, it's fun, it's festive, and it really takes the pressure off your budget in terms of the food and drink that you need to serve. Cocktail hour not your thing? Brunch is great. Mimosas, coffee, and eggs. Very little dollars involved in that, and everyone has a really nice time. So consider throwing your party in the off hours when things are a little bit cheaper. And speaking of coffee and mimosas, let's go to point 4. And that's where I say lower the bar, quite literally, or even liquefy it a little bit more. If you're going to be stocking up on a full bar, well, you know that you're not going to be saving any dollars anytime soon. Instead, consider stretching your budget by doing things like punches, sangrias. We've got a great sangria recipe. Over 20,000 of you have loved it and taken down that recipe. You can find that sangria recipe right here. But you can make your punches, your sangrias, and we even have a really great Christmas one for a hot buttered bourbon apple cider. This one is so festive. so themed, it's so delicious. You can get that video right here as well. So making more with less is actually super easy, very seamless, and incredibly elegant. You can make some delicious drinks and no one would even think that what you're doing is you're spreading out your budget a little bit more. Now let's talk budget decor for point number 5. Things can get really expensive if you get lured in and tempted in by all those beautiful flower stores that have all of those great festive urns and centerpieces. They're beautiful, but they cost a lot. One of my favorite ways to keep things really decorative and really seasonal is to use what's in season. I picked up all of these pine cones, for example, at my nearby forest. I brought my niece and nephew. We had a fun little afternoon. Well, I thought it was fun. I don't know if they did. They would rather be playing video games, but whatever. Gotta work for it, kids. Nothing wrong with a little child labor. Santa's coming to town. Anyway, I digress. But we went out to the forest and all of these pine cones had already fallen. So we gathered up a huge bag of them. I took them home, gave them a little rinse, and now I use them for a ton of centerpieces. In addition to our pine cones, the seasonal fruits of ruby red pomegranates, these really cute little clementines with the leaves attached. It's a really great way to entertain. It's super festive, it's super fun, and if people get hungry, they can have a little snack. And for other things you might need, consider filling great vases with inexpensive Christmas ornaments. Consider getting, fantastic candle holders from a thrift store. You can have a lot of fun with some really great budget decor. You just have to let your imagination go wild. And lastly, that brings us to point number 6. And this is the most boring and the most stodgy, but it is the most true. And regardless of what party you're throwing, at what time of day, and for how many people, you are going to have to pony up some cash. But the good news, of course, is that rarely do these experiences come as a surprise. Christmas is always on December 25th, New Year's is always on December 31st, and you probably already know when your anniversaries and birthdays are coming up. So if you just work a little bit backwards, and by the way, if you want a terrific 3-2-1 plan, we've got one right here. It's what we put together for Thanksgiving, but it works for any big dinner or any big party that you're throwing. But what you want to do is you just want to work backwards a little bit and consider socking away just a little bit of extra money every week, just so you can have that much more and you're not stressed when the big day comes. I know it's boring, I know it's finger wagging, but it is true. Those are my best 6 tips for being able to throw a party on a budget, but still make it look flawless, seamless, elegant, and easy. And in fact, when you get into the groove of it, it can be a whole lot of fun. Maybe even more fun than if you could just spend somebody else's money. No, that's not true. It's always way more fun to spend someone else's money. But regardless, I hope you found those 6 tips helpful. And if you have any tips of your own, please leave them in the comments below. I'm sure we could all learn from each other on great ways to save just a little bit this holiday season. While you're there, please give us a like, subscribe to this channel, and if you want to share this video with some party maven friends of yours, please do. The more, the merrier over here. Friends, I'm going to be back every week until the holidays with new and great and fun ideas on how to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro all season long, so I certainly hope I'm going to see you back here next week. Until then, stay well and happy holidays.